In this video, we're going to talk about how the Mets have a roster crunch that involves the catchers, but we're going to talk about a particular player on the team that might be on his way out, and this video starts right now. Now, before we get into this new rant that I have for today, I need you to subscribe to the Baseball Hut and like the video and hit the bell for notifications so when the video goes up, you'll be the first to watch it and the first to leave a comment. But here we have the Mets. They are one game over 500. They lost the first game in Chicago. I was worried about the Mets in Chicago. They don't play well usually. Although last year they won 3 out of 4 games there. They didn't get any starting pitching last night. Again, that's gonna be a big problem. You know, if you don't get any starting pitching, you're not going to win. Now, I would mention that the Mets are going to be connected to quite a few starting pitchers before we get to the August 1st trading deadline. Keep an eye on the White Sox. They're going to be moving players. They've gotten off to a horrendous start, and it doesn't look good for them. So just keep an eye on. Now, in the last video, I talked about Francisco Alvarez and how there's a lot of talk that he might get sent back down to AAA, which he does not deserve. He has played really well in the month of May. He's been one of the best catchers in baseball in the month of May. He's got an OPS over 900, which is incredible for such a young player. He's got 5 home runs, which I think is second most in Major League Baseball for catchers. So he's gotten off to a very strong start. And he had such a rough first month. I mean, the Mets kind of had no choice because Omar Narvaez, as you know, was injured. Now we know that he's still out. This is Narvaez. And he should be back in the next, I would think, maybe the next 2 weeks, if not less than that. And Tomas Nido, who was out with a dry eye syndrome, so he's on the IL getting his at-bats in the minor leagues on his rehab assignment. But we're going to talk about a player. Now, as you know, there's a roster crunch. The Mets are trying to figure out what to do. Will they carry Francisco Alvarez on this team? And because of the Major League contract that they gave Omar Narvaez, is he going to be on this team? Now, if he's going to be on this team, and he's a left-handed bat, which gives the Mets a little bit something different dimension, because all the other guys that play behind the plate, they're all right-handed bats. And he's a good catcher, good defensive catcher. He's been on good teams. He's been a winner. He's been a mentor to Alvarez. But the Mets obviously have an issue. Not only do they have Tomas Nido coming back, but they have Gary Sanchez. I mentioned to you in previous videos about Gary. He's just a bad catcher. And you saw it last night. I mean, to see him drop a pop-up. He dropped the pop-up. It's the first thing he did. He had 2 pass balls, and he had a wild pitch, not against him, but against the pitcher last night. And that's just an example of how frustrating he was for the New York Yankees. Now, if you're a fan of the Yankees, you knew that the Yankees would drive themselves crazy trying to figure out what to do with Gary. So many people want him out of here from New York because his defense is just so horrific. And his offense is such, it's all or nothing with Gary. There's no, how do you say, any, skill or touch to the way he hits. So it's all or nothing. So if you're not getting any power out of him, as a bat, he's pretty much useless, and he strikes out a lot. Now, honestly, I didn't understand why they signed him and put him in the minors. I know they wanted him for power, but his defense is just so bad. So I'm going to mention a player who I think you'll know. And that's Tommy Pham. Now, Tommy, I have numbers here that are actually, and you'll see it on the screen. This is from a tweet from Michael Mayer, who does Mets Memorized online. I'm going to read you some of these numbers. These numbers are just crazy, how bad Tommy's numbers are. He's hitting 210, 298 batting, 210 batting average, a 298 on-base percentage. So he's not even getting on base 30% of the time. And his slugging percentage is 358. Let me say that again. It's not even 400. It's 358. His OPS, 656. Think about how bad that is. 700 or between 700 and 720 is considered average major league players in terms of the on-base percentage plus slugging. His OPS plus is 82, which means he's 18% worse than the average major leaguer. And to put it in perspective, I've been railing against Daniel Vogelbach for the last 2 weeks. His OPS plus is 102, so he's 2% better than the average major leaguer. Now, these are other numbers that I don't understand. You can sort of explain it to me. Well, one of them I don't understand. -2, 0 AA on defense. So he's a minus defensive player, according to that. And as you saw during that game in Chicago, he dropped a pop-up. About as easy a pop-up as you're going to get. He couldn't recover from it. His momentum was taking him away from the ball. And his sprint speed is at a career low of 27.3. I guess that's what the sprint speed is. It's not great. So and he's 35 years old. So his ability to be able to be a contributor at a high level is diminishing. Now, to me, he seems to be the most obvious way to fix this problem from behind the plate. Say, for instance, the Mets decide that they want to keep Alvarez. They're going to have to maneuver this roster a little bit and maybe get rid of Tommy. And now, what's the one thing about Tommy is he does well in postseason. The Mets have to get the postseason first. Mets have to get the postseason first. It's the most important thing. So, for your best roster, do you carry a third catcher on your roster, or do you send Alvarez back to the minor leagues and basically alienate all the fans that love the team and love what he is doing, or you do something about Tommy Pham? DFA him, release him, trade him. They're going to have to figure that out very soon because he seems to be the most obvious guy that could be gone. And I would mention also that Jeff McNeil plays the outfield. So if they were to lose Tommy, they could always have McNeil play more in the outfield, and you play Canada more as it's just... Canada's basically an everyday player anyway, still. Also, I'd also mention this. They have been playing Escobar a lot at second. His bat has come around a lot better than it had been. And also keep in mind as well, it could send Mark Vientos back to AAA. That's another option. But his sort of, interaction with Beatty and Alvarez is kind of what's going on with the baby Mets to help this older group out. Also keep in mind, and he's down the road, that's Ronnie Mauricio. He's probably about maybe a month away from the major leagues. The bat's ready. Aside, in terms of just the result, I don't know how the Mets view him in terms of how he's able to take counts, how he's able to differentiate breaking balls. I know he's taking more walks. He's striking out less. So those are great positive signs. And he is learning a new position, second base. Now, you have to ask yourself, who are the most vulnerable guys on this roster that could get sent down once they decide what to do with Nido and Alvarez and Narvaez? The one thing they could do, which is the simplest thing, which would piss off a lot of people, which actually is not a simple decision, that's sending Alvarez back to AAA. He's got options. 2, send Vientos back to AAA because he's not necessarily hitting every day, playing every day. And he's not tearing the cover off the ball yet. I guess he needs a little more time adjusting to Major League Baseball, Major League pitching. Send him back. Or what do you do with Tommy Pham? Do you send Tommy out of here? And this is just the more obvious one. If it was me, I'd get rid of Vogelbach. I'd probably get rid of Vogelbach and Tommy Pham, to be honest with you. There's not a lot of money invested in either one of them. And the Mets would have to sort of just say, and just release them. Really with them, you have to release them. You can't DFA them. Because you DFA them, you basically say, well, you either get picked up by another team or you get sent back or you get sent to AAA. It's kind of disrespectful for guys that have been in the major leagues that long to DFA them. It's more of a release than anything else. And it's weird. Their numbers are kind of like, especially with Tommy, they're kind of weird. They're not so bottom of the barrel. It's just that they're lesser than what he's done in the past. So it's kind of, you can't like disrespect a guy that's been in the majors as long as he's been and just DFA him. You're probably better off releasing him. I don't know what the Mets are going to do here. I would keep Alvarez. It's the most obvious thing. Just keep him here and figure out what to do with the rest of these other guys. And probably the most obvious one will be to send Vientos back. That to me just seems to be the most easiest thing to do, I would think, at this rate. So you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, please subscribe to Baseball Hut. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.